Apologies for that delay. Good afternoon. Welcome to Africa Today. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Nigeria commences paternity leave for male civil servants. Still on the headlines, 39 persons convicted in Oyo, Ogun State for internet fraud. Also on the headlines, ECOWAS Parliament commences second ordinary session of 5th legislature. And on sports, 14,000 athletes to compete for medals in Delta. And now the news in detail. Nigeria's government has commenced the approved 14-working-day paternity leave for male civil servants. It would be recalled that last year, the Federal Executive Council, that is the FEC, approved the right to a 14-day paternity leave for male officers. The head of civil service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieson, said that the move was in line with the provisions of the Public Service Rules 2021 edition, which states that the computation of all leave shall be passed on working days. She explained that the government has also approved paternity leave for serving male officers whose spouse delivers a baby. The period of the leave shall be the 14 days working days. Well, then leave shall not be more than once in 2 years for a maximum of 4 children. She said the request for such leave shall be accompanied by the expected date of delivery, that is the EDD report of the officer's wife or evidence of approval of the adoption of the child by the relevant government agencies, adding that the bonding was important to help the newly born or adopted baby properly bond with the father in the early period. And away from that story, still on Africa Today, let's have you know that the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is the INEC, on Monday lamented the incessant attacks on its local government offices across the country. The commission said the attacks might cause hitches in its operations. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, stated these during the visit of the African Union Special Pre-Electoral Political Mission to the commission. Newsmen had reported that within the space of 3 weeks, 3 attacks were carried out on INEC facilities in Ogun, Osun, and Ebonyi states, respectively. Yakubu, however, re-emphasized that the commission would not be deterred by the challenges, noting that it was ready to conduct free and fair elections.
So I want to reassure you that yes, we may suffer a little hitches here and there, but overall the commission is required to proceed with the elections and to proceed in the manner that the law requires us to do, using the deployment of technology for the purpose of accreditation and uploading of polling unit level results from the polling units on election day for transparency. And the good thing is that since we started this process, we hear less and less of litigations arising from the conduct of elections by the commission. So I want to reassure you that yes, we may suffer a little hitches here and there, but overall the commission is required to proceed with the elections and to proceed in the manner that the law requires us to do, using the deployment of technology for the purpose of accreditation and uploading of polling unit level results from the polling units on election day for transparency. And the good thing is that since we started this process, we hear less and less of litigations arising from the conduct of elections by the commission.
A little hitch up right there, but the news continues. Federal government has advised Nigerians traveling to Europe and the United States, that is the U.S., to take extra precautions to avoid being dispossessed of their belongings. The nation's Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, gave the advice in Abuja at the 5th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari, that is the PMB Administration Scorecard 2015 to 2023 series. Mohammed lamented that it has come to the attention of the government that the Nigerian travelers to the United States, that is the U.S., and some countries in Europe are having their belongings, especially money and international passports, stolen at an increasingly high rate.
The most recent victims of these are travelers to the UK, most of whom were dispossessed of their passports and money at highbrow shops, particularly in the high streets of Oxford. To advise Nigerians traveling to Europe and the United States to take extra care and precaution to avoid being dispossessed of their belongings.
The Ibadan Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that is the EFCC, has secured the convictions of a core member and 38 other persons for their involvement in internet-related crimes in Oyo and Ogun states. The core member, Osisi Ikenna Nicholas, and 38 others were on separate one-count charge, each before Justices Bayo Taiwo, Omolara Adeyemi, Ladiran Akintola, and Mohammed Owolabi of the Oyo State High Court, Ibadan, and Justice Opeyemi Sobowale of the Ogun State High Court, Abeokuta, between November 21, 2022 and November 25, 2022. The head of media and publicity of the commission, Wilson Owujare, disclosed that Osisi was committed to 1 month community service for his involvement in internet-related fraud, while the sentences for the 38 other range from a fine to 1 to 6 months community service and 1 year imprisonment. In a statement, Owujare gave the names of the other convicts to include Christopher Ehiabi Ogidi, Odewale Johnson Olumide, Akinade Adeyeye, Bolahon Moyua, and Chukwudi Emeka Samuel. Owujare said all the convicts pleaded guilty to the charges filed against them by the EFCC. When we return, news from other parts of West Africa. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. It's still Africa Today on Hills TV. The Economic Community of West African States, that is ECOWAS Parliament, has commenced the second ordinary session of the 5th legislature in Abuja, Nigeria. The Speaker of the Community Parliament, Sidie Mohammed Tunis, expressed optimism that nothing will obstruct free, fair, transparent and democratic elections in the 2023 elections in Nigeria, Liberia and Sierra Leone. He therefore pledged support of the Parliament to work with the ECOWAS Commission, partners and stakeholders in the still of trust and confidence in the electoral system of the affected countries. The Speaker also said that as a demonstration of the Parliament's commitment to ensuring peaceful elections, it's conducted oversight missions to the National Centers for the Coordination of the Early Warning and Response Mechanism in the early warning officers in Nigeria, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. He stated that the engagements were very enlightening and fruitful, and the reports from those missions would be carefully considered later during the session. In a related development, Tunis stated that as a region, the people of West Africa are confronted with unending chaos and crisis, which are threatening the gains the region has made in the recent past. According to him, as the Parliament reviews the community budgets, they should bear in mind that the region is also confronted with the realities of climate change and an increased impact of climate-related shocks. Taking you to Cameroon, at least 15 people died in a landslide on a hillside where a crowd was attending a funeral in a popular neighborhood of Yaoundé, the Cameroonian capital. A few hours later, the tragedy Nassiri Paul B The governor of the Central region told reporters that 11 people had died, but that the search was continuing for possible other victims. In the vicinity of the wasteland, there are relatively well-to-do houses in good conditions and very precarious dwellings, like those countless, sometimes made of wood and sheet metal, which covered the sides of the 7 hills forming part of the relief of the Cameroonian capital, populated by more than 4 million inhabitants. And now let's quickly get on to yet another story and have you know that the third round of consultations for the peace process in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is the DRC, facilitated by the East African Regional Bloc, have begun in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, with a plan to discuss reforms that will facilitate disarmament of rebel groups. Kenya's President William Ruto and Burundi's Evariste Ndayishimiye attended the Monday opening session in person, while the presidents of Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda attended virtually. The leaders reiterated their commitment to support and ensure lasting peace in the DRC. The facilitator of the Monday talks, former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, said the aim was to discuss political process and institutional reforms that will ensure an environment that is conducive for the disarmament, rehabilitation, and reintegration of armed groups in the DRC. And now let's quickly go on this break. When we come back, it's going to be more on sports. Don't go away.
Very good afternoon to you and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I am Richard Badum. As Delta 2022 finally commences, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has said that about 14,000 young athletes from the 36 states of the Federation and Federal Capital Territory, that is FCT, Abuja, will be competing at the National Sports Festival in over 30 different sports. The minister disclosed this on Monday in his office in Abuja as he expressed optimism that at the end of the competition, which includes football, basketball, wrestling, among others, new sets of athletes will emerge that will compete favorably with their counterparts globally. The minister also commended the Delta State government for its dogged determination towards ensuring the reality of Delta 2022 and also for providing the teaming youth with the opportunity to showcase their sporting talents. While stressing that the games will also help in strengthening the unity of Nigerians, Dare called on participating states to go all out for medals. He made a call to all sports-loving Nigerians also to create time to grace the festival, saying that the National Sports Festival is the Olympics in Nigeria. Earlier speaking, the main organizing committee had said Delta 2022 provides an avenue for uniting the nation. And away from that story now to the World Cup, where Black Stars of Ghana secured a 3-2 victory against South Korea in Group H of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, courtesy of a double from attacking midfielder Mohamed Kudus, and one defender Mohamed Salisu also got his goal at the Education City Stadium in Doha, Qatar. Ghana started with Inaki Williams up front, with brothers Jordan Ayew and Andre Ayew supporting on the flanks. For South Korea, Gyeosing Cho was leading the front line with star player Heung-min Sung of Tottenham and Chang Hoon-kun in support. In the 24th minute, Ghana took the lead when Salisu struck from close range when the Asians failed to properly clear a free kick. 10 minutes later, Kudus scored Ghana's second of the night with a lovely header to give the Africans a 2-0 lead going into the break. Striker Gyeosung Cho scored his first of the night with a header to make it 2-1 before tucking another header into the net 3 minutes later to equalize for South Korea. However, Kudus got the winner in the 68th minute when he was left unmarked in the penalty area as he calmly placed the ball past South Korea goalkeeper Kim Seung-gyu. Still talking sports, FIFA has lifted the suspension on the Kenya Football Federation following the local government's decision to reinstate the body after it was dissolved over suspicions of corruption, the sports minister said on Monday. A letter from FIFA on Monday, seen by reporters, said it had decided to lift the suspension of the Kenya Federation with immediate effect. In February, the world governing football body had suspended the Kenya Federation, citing government interference after authorities shut down the organization last year over allegations of corruption. In November, Sports Minister Ababu Namwamba announced that the federation would be reinstated, but warned former leader Nick Mwendwa, who is facing corruption charges, not to return to the federation until the case was concluded. The federation was dissolved in November 2021 after an investigation into its finances revealed it had failed to account for funds received from the government and other sponsors. Its leader, Nick Mwendwa, was arrested the same month. And that's your sport news on Africa Today. Thank you for watching. I'm Richard Badung. Back to Udwak Daniel for the rest of the news.
Richard Badum giving a clinical finish on sports right there, and this is how we call it a close in Africa Today. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you Nigeria commences paternity leave for male civil servants. We also told you 39 persons convicted in Oyo, Ogun states for internet fraud. Also in the headlines earlier, ECOWAS Parliament commences second ordinary session of 5th legislature, and on sports, 14,000 athletes to compete for medals in Delta. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel, all at Hills TV. I am Udwak Daniel. Thank you for watching.